Her triumphs, I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials,
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story,
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm gonna be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here is your host, Lauren McLean.
We are so glad you've joined us for Her Why, where we celebrate the women who make BYU sports great. Today's guest is BYU basketball senior forward and last season's best rebounder in the nation, Lauren Gustin. Thanks so much for being here with me, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This is exciting for me. I love women's basketball, and I love BYU women's basketball, and you've just been an incredible bright spot for the team the last few years. You are a BYU record holder. You hold the mark for the most rebounds in one season, and you also hold the Marriott Center single game record, which you broke twice. Is that kind of fun to say? I mean, not that you go around saying this to people, but is it cool to be able to say, I'm a BYU record holder?
Yeah, it's a great accomplishment, and BYU is a great place and has had a lot of great athletes come in and out of it, so it's a huge honor to be able to be a part of that.
Even though you earned the honor of being the rebounding record holder, you entered the transfer portal in the off season. What led you to that decision?
Being a grad student athlete, I felt like I was had earned and had deserved that position to kind of go and explore the portal and kind of see another option that I was thinking about. I went in close contact. I just had one particular place in mind and had kind of just wanted to see where that was going to go. It was a really hard decision to go in the portal, but I'm thankful that I was able to go in, explore that option and then really decide that, BYU is where I want to be. BYU is, the school for me. And so I'm happy to be back. And it was a hard choice, going in the first place, but BYU felt like home and felt right. And the coaches were great about everything. So.
What's that experience like? Because you have the fans, right? And when you're like, why is Lauren Gustin leaving? And your coaches that were your new coaches for 1 year, and you just have a lot of voices around you. So what was that experience like for you entering the portal in the first place?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. And there's rumors and things that go around and talk. And, I had to kind of stay away from social media for a little bit and just kind of really focus on, my thoughts and what would be best for me and listen to just the ones that were, close to me and had always been by my side. And they were good help and, a lot of prayers and a lot of talking with God about where I want to be. And now looking back, I'm happy and grateful that I had that experience and opportunity to go in the portal, but I'm so happy with, where I'm at.
You mentioned that BYU felt like home and you had a lot of support of the coaching staff. But what made you ultimately say, I'm going to go back to BYU?
There's a lot of different reasons. One, the coaching staff, going in the portal and then kind of having that separation from them. I realized, how great of a program and how great of coaches they are. And, they talked with me through it, the pros and cons, and were really realistic about it. They did a great job at, talking to me and laying out a game plan for what we had this season. And then just realizing, I've been with BYU my last 4 years, and it's always felt like home, and everyone's always been great to me. And it's been a great program to be in, academically and basketball-wise. And I couldn't see myself really being at a different school at that point. And then I wanted to come home and, finish my last year with the family and friends and the culture that, I had been around. And I was just excited to be able to be part of it.
Well, I know everyone was super grateful when you chose to come back to BYU. You grew up in a very sporty family. Your brother, Porter Gustin, is in the NFL. Your parents both played sports collegiately. Mom played basketball at BYU in Wyoming, and your dad played football at Wyoming. That's incredible. How's your family's involvement in sports influence your passion for sports and basketball?
Yeah. All I've ever known is sports, from a young age. My two older brothers were always playing things, and I was, a cheerleader for them a lot of the time, and always running with my mom to drop them off at practices. And having two parents that also, played college sports and were athletes, you can just feel that competition within them with everything we did, really. So they were always great role models, and and bringing in sports to my life. But yeah, from a young age, all I remember is sports. It's definitely had a big impact on just who I am today as a person.
You have 2 older brothers and a younger brother and sister. So you are smashed in between 2 boys. What was that like growing up competitively, kind of competing with your brothers?
Yeah, it was a lot. My brothers are very, very competitive. And at first, it was just them 2 and me. And then my sister came next, but she was, 2 years younger. So I felt like I was always trying to compete with the older boys and trying to get involved with them and their friends and their little competitions. But they made me a lot tougher. And they were always great examples of me too, of, work ethic and all that. But they definitely pushed me.
Man, I can imagine. Your mom, Scarlett, played basketball at BYU in Wyoming. What was her influence like on you as a basketball player growing up?
I always thought it was cool that, she played college basketball, and I kind of had always wanted to, follow in her footsteps and do that. My mom was a great athlete in high school too. She did track and volleyball and basketball. So I think it was empowering seeing, your mother be able to do that and accomplish that and still, have a family and be able to do everything that she's done. But yeah, she was a big influence, and just hearing, her talk the game and know the game was always super helpful.
I'm assuming her, having played at the collegiate level, always tried to coach you and help you out. Was that an easy thing for you to be coached by your mom, or was it one of those things that you're like, let's keep your distance a little bit?
No, she did really good about the way she coached me and the way she talked with me. It's my dad that's pretty hard on us, and he played high school basketball really competitively and was trying to decide if he wanted to go, college basketball or college football. So he was right up there with the basketball, and he was always the one that was pretty hard. My mom was more of the, gentle approach, and was always just the accepting one, trying to be there for us. So she was good about it, but it was definitely fun to take tips from her.
So was it hard receiving that from your dad?
Yeah. He would coach a lot of my club teams growing up, and he coached a lot of my brothers. He coached them in high school for a little bit actually too. But yeah, he was definitely always a tougher one. Has really high expectations for us, and, holds us to a high standard. So he was kind of always the hard one on us, but we needed it, and I'm happy he was there for us.
I'm sure it contributed at least a little bit to where you are today.
Yeah.
Have you ever played one-on-one with your mom?
No, she's got bad knees now.
Oh, come on.
But if I'm ever getting shots up and she's rebounding with me, she'll throw in some shots here and there. But yeah, not too much banging her around just because of body.
Yeah, she's getting old now. How do you feel like your playing style is similar or different from how your mom played?
I think me and my mom both had a high motor. Definitely just, like to run a lot and kind of be that aggressor. I'm definitely more physical inside than my mom was. She was more comfortable in the perimeter. But definitely just rebounding, going for the boards hard, running the court hard is something that, I think we take pride in, and just our work ethic in that. So definitely some similarities, but she was a little more comfortable in the perimeter, whereas I want to be more on the inside. But
you've mentioned before that people have underestimated you kind of being an inside player because of your height, which I mean, you're not short. You're around 6 feet tall. But I mean, for collegiate sports that can be on the shorter side, do you feel like that made you feel like you had something to prove every time you step foot on the court?
Yeah, definitely. Growing up, I was always the taller kid. I kind of had hit that spurt pretty early, so I was always the 5, no matter what. But as high school started, I stopped growing, and I was definitely more of the shorter girls out there. But yeah, definitely a lot of people, underlooked it and always said, I was too short to play the 5. But it always pushed me to try to be stronger than the 5s, try to be quicker than the 5s, try to use different advantages rather than my height. And that's something I try to, take more pride into, is like getting in the weight room and being in the best shape that I can be, because, I can't make myself, get taller, but I can get stronger and quicker. So. Well,
even though you stopped growing in high school, you obviously did a phenomenal job, because like I said, I've been in Salem Hills High School. I've seen your banners all over that gym. So you had a great high school career. And then after you committed to the University of Idaho during your junior year of high school, what made you decide to commit to them?
Yeah. Honestly, I wasn't a big fan of the recruiting process. I don't know what it was. I just don't think I liked hearing the same thing from,
Yeah.
most coaches, and just, kind of going through that routine. I'm also not a kid that loves to be, hyped up by other coaches. Like it just wasn't my thing. I just kind of want to be, in and out. I only actually took 2 officials. One was to the University of Portland and one was Idaho. And coming from Idaho, born and raised in Idaho, it was a more comfortable, thought of going back and living in Idaho. I also had a good friend that I played basketball with that had committed there. She was a guard, and I was familiar with her. And growing up, I didn't really have a dream school. I knew I just wanted to go D1, and Idaho seemed to, check off those boxes. And honestly, I didn't want to do a whole lot more recruiting, so, I felt good about it and just committed there.
You're like, Idaho it is.
Yep.
What was it like when you finally arrived on their campus?
It was a lot different than what I had anticipated. Freshman year for everyone's going to be tough, but
Yeah.
I really, really had a hard time with it. I had a lot of other freshman teammates with me, obviously, and it was good to have them by me. But it definitely was harder than I had expected.
If you don't mind sharing, what were some of the struggles you faced that first year there?
Yeah. I think I struggled a lot with just trying to balance everything out in general. I wanted to be, 100% academically, 100% with my sleep, my nutrition, and then also on the court and in the weight room. And, I discovered real quick that that's not really, a realistic thing, especially being a college athlete. You really have to figure out what you want to put more energy into and what, you aren't going to put more energy into. So I really struggled with adjusting. I missed home, but it was more just I felt like I couldn't take really control of what was going on. Going from having we had our summers off actually at Idaho. They didn't make us come until school started.
Wow.
So I think going from having, a summer of just only basketball and chilling and getting ready for school, and then all of a sudden, all these college classes and a really big specific schedule and just everything that all the freshmen have to go through in general. I had a really hard time trying to adjust to that, and it started resulting in me, not sleeping, not doing extra work, having a hard time going to class, struggling, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything kind of just started going downhill. And it put me in a really, really bad place where, I didn't even want to play basketball. I used to at once love working out and playing basketball, but now I didn't want to go see the weight room. I didn't want to go step on the court. And that's kind of where I had to try to think what's best for my health at this point. Take basketball out of the picture, take everything out, like what is best for me ultimately as a person. And at the time I wanted, to quit basketball, just be done in general, because I felt like I was in such a bad place that basketball was the last thing on my mind. But after a lot of talking with, my high school coach and my parents and some other, people that in my life that had kind of gone through college sports as well, we kind of came to a conclusion that maybe go to a JUCO for a year, because this is before the transfer portal was, a thing, and I couldn't just transfer mid-semester to another school. So, that's kind of what we resulted in with that.
So it was kind of your searching for perfectionism, and then it kind of starts to play a mental toll. And I think a lot of people don't realize the mental toll that is taken on so many collegiate athletes, and that way there's so much on your plate. What was some of the advice that you got from your parents, from coaches and the people that you trust, that because you mentioned you were just kind of turned off to basketball, you were turned off to exercising and all that kind of stuff. What advice did they give you that made you think you could possibly keep going?
A big person that I had gone to for help is my older brother, because he had gone through, at the time he was still in college actually. It was his last year at USC. And so he had kind of gone through the process of, the whole college experience, and he had moved somewhere even further than me. So I kind of, asked him how he had worked through it, and he's a completely different person than me. He's very non-emotional, I would say, just gets right to it. So it was a little hard hearing him just be like, you got to push through. You're going to get through it. You're fine. You just keep pushing. And so that was a little bit tough hearing that, but also kind of gave me some hope of like, I'm going to get through it. Like, I know, the first year is always tough. But he just kept saying like, it's just a grind. You just got to put your head down. You got to keep working. And then my parents were both, they were both really supportive. They just did not want me to be done playing though. They said, look, if you want to get out of this situation, like, we're here for you, we'll help you. But, you shouldn't give up with this. There's other fits, there's other, places where you'll be happy. So they were really good about it. I think that they were having a hard time, trying to be there for me because they didn't know how to be, because, it was a hard situation. I had just been there for, a couple months, and it wasn't like I could just leave all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So they were good trying to help me, think of different solutions and, different plans. And then my high school coach was really good at, just kind of reassuring me that, you're a great athlete. You're meant to play college ball. You can't give up. You got to keep going. So I had a lot of great advocates around me, supporting me, but not letting me off the hook,
Right. You decide to attend Salt Lake Community College. What new perspective do you feel like you gained during that experience?
Mm-hmm. I definitely was humbled really quick. I feel like, coming from high school, having a great senior year, winning, especially as a freshman, you think of yourself on this high level. So, going to Idaho, I struggled obviously, but then ending up now at a JUCO that was in the same state that, I was living at was hard for me. I kind of felt like a letdown a little bit to myself because I had always had these goals growing up of, being a D1 athlete. It was really hard mentally at first too. I just felt like I wasn't mentally tough enough to stay D1. And, I was worried too what others were thinking, like, D1 was too hard for her. She couldn't handle it. So that took a toll at first, definitely going there, and then physically, I felt like, I love the JUCO grind. It's different. Just the process and the things we have to do. You definitely have to earn everything. We have our practice jerseys were nicer in high school than we had at, JUCO. We're all sharing one big locker room with really everyone, all the other athletes. And it was definitely different, but it was kind of nice to be able to sit back and like appreciate what I could have and how, even like this is a temporary spot sort of. So it was kind of a motivation to be there of like, okay, I want to get back to that D1 level. I know, I got a taste of what it's like. I want to prepare myself mentally, physically, all that way. So when I do go back, I'm ready for it, and being there was a really great opportunity because I was also kind of able to relearn my love for basketball again. The competition wasn't as intense, but I think that I was able to build some more confidence on the court, through Slick, and I had built great relationships too with some teammates, which kind of helped me keep going as well. But looking back, I'm really grateful for my Slick experience because it made me want to get back into the D1 level, but also taught me the importance of the little things of ball and just to appreciate the game.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to have more from BYU women's basketball's Lauren Gustin. This is Her Why. Welcome back to Her Why. I'm Lauren McLean with BYU women's basketball's senior forward Lauren Gustin. So BYU offered you a scholarship before you even played your first game at Salt Lake Community College. How did that early recognition affect your confidence, would you say, in the game?
Well, the first thing it did was made me really appreciate BYU. Them stepping up to the table and doing that showed to me that they wanted me, which was huge. Also, it gave me some hope that there's options for me outside of this, and that I can get back to that level. So.
Did you have any other offers besides BYU?
Yes. So I actually committed to BYU pretty early. I wanted to stay in Utah. I knew that, having my experience of being in Idaho, I, decided this time around I want to be close to family. I want to have that support system by me. So as soon as BYU came to the table, I had, verbally committed. Other schools, had still reached out and offered, but I was set with BYU as soon as they came to me.
You were going to do it. So you had to sit out a year back in those days.
Yeah.
Back in the day, due to eligibility rules. How did you stay motivated and physically prepared during that time? Because that's a long time to just have to sit and not be able to play.
Yeah. It was hard. Going to BYU, I felt like I still had so much to prove. From the outside, I was a JUCO girl that had this opportunity at BYU. So I kind of felt like an underdog once again. People didn't know my story with Idaho. A lot of the teammates didn't even know I came from, another school. It was just JUCO. Yeah. So I felt like that motivated me to, work and prove why I can be there, why I can, fit in at BYU, why I belong. And then also just the great, like Paisley being there, older girls, Brenna Chase, Jasmine, all those girls, they worked hard, and coming into, a program like that with seniors and older girls that, worked hard made you want to work hard. And it was a good year for me to kind of get on my feet and adjust to that D1 style again in a proper way, because I think if I just got thrown back in the mix, I could have struggled and whatnot, right. But having that time to adjust back into it and get into the flow of things, I'm really grateful for, even though it was rough sitting out a season. But
what was that adjustment like? Like, is it kind of a slap in the face? Is it that big of an adjustment from those levels?
This school here is definitely a whole lot different than Slick, but one thing that BYU does good that I love is they really take care of their freshmen, especially. They're with the adjustments in the summer. They have you start in classes on a lighter load, which is super good because you can kind of get the feel for school and also be doing basketball workouts. And then by the time fall semester comes around and you have a full schedule, you're ready for it. So it was a lot easier, especially having great academic advisors around and kind of having a game plan set out of what classes I've already taken and what where I want to take my classes and all that. So it was a lot better for sure.
When you came to BYU, you committed to Coach Jeff Judkins, and then at the end of your sophomore year, Juddy announces his retirement. What was that moment like for you?
Yeah. Honestly, I was super shocked. It was really hard at first. I was, confused. There was a little bit of anger and sadness and just a lot of different feelings. I had figured it was going to be his time eventually, but I knew that we were going to have one more year in the WCC, and was in my head I thought Jay was going to finish out one more year with us. But yeah, it kind of came on so quick. I was shocked for a while, but.
And not only did Juddy leave, but some of the best offensive players left. What convinced you to stay at BYU during the time, considering there were so many unknowns? Yeah.
I think, honestly, just, trusting the whole process and trusting, Coach Amber. She came into the program with, I can't even imagine being in her position. You're coming into this new program, taking over. It's, it's a scary role. A lot of, backlash and a lot of negative things. But I feel like, she took the role and she did great with it. And so having that trust in her and just the whole, process of why they had picked her was like, yeah, she's the one. Like there's no doubt about it. And just going full go, and also having Lee from the old coaching staff was super nice to be able to have that, comfort and trust in that coach already built, and then having him, follow Amber's lead just kind of gave the validation that, this is the right move. So, and she's done great at bringing in other coaches as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's a perfect fit.
At that time, you were already one of the leaders on the team. Did you feel a little bit of weight on your shoulders to help with that adjustment with Amber coming in? even not even just for her, but for the players. Did you feel any weight from that? Yeah, I definitely felt some weight. Me and Smiler being like the I guess at that point the veterans there with Shaylee leaving. We both had to step up a lot. Nani as well, which was a big role for her because she had just had 1 year under her belt. So now all of a sudden she's up to the table with us three. So I felt it on my shoulders for sure, but
I also knew that it was going to be a different year. Everyone was going to have different roles. Everyone was going to have to get used to the whole system changing. So I just knew I had to go in with a positive attitude on it and be optimistic to kind of let the other girls know that, this is how it's supposed to go. This is the right move.
When you came to BYU and your first time you stepped foot in the Marriott Center as a player during a game, what was that like?
Yeah. It's just a very beautiful, historic area. You can just feel just the energy, and it's a really a hard feeling to describe because there's been so many great games you hear about and great athletes and legends that have come in and out of that that arena. So feeling stepping on there, just you feel honored and just excited to be able to be there, and proud of yourself for being able to make it there, but also just really appreciative of having the opportunity to be there.
You've had some incredible years at BYU, and I think when people think Lauren Gustin, they think rebounding. I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. Leading rebounder in the nation for women's basketball in the NCAA, that's incredible. When did you know that rebounding was one of your strengths, if not your biggest strength?
I think it wasn't really until college, I think. Going into the year at BYU, my first year, having to sit out, I kind of told myself, I'm an underdog, I'm a 4'5". Maybe I'm not going to be able to get a lot of shots up, especially, over Sarah Hampson, these tall girls. Right. So I just kept telling myself, what's one thing that, I can control and can contribute that the coaches won't be able to avoid, what's something that I can do so I can make sure I'm on the court. And so I just really kind of took pride in just rebounding and just trying to make an extra effort to try to get every board that I can, because I wanted to be on the court, at all times, and I didn't want them to have, any reasoning of why I shouldn't be on the court. So. Right.
So obviously you put in the extra effort, but there's also got to be more to it, because you're around 6 feet tall. You mentioned Sarah Hampson, who's 6'7". Yeah. How do you feel like you kind of have a nose for the ball, and you're maybe a little smaller, so you're quicker? What do you think is your strength in that area? Yeah,
I think I definitely have, a good feel for the ball, but I think a lot of it too is just having the effort of going for every board. I think a lot of girls, especially on defensive boards, kind of get complacent. They just expect, the girls to be sprinting down the court, and they're just going to kind of, go get the ball and it's going to be there. But I think it's kind of fun to be the element of surprise a little bit of just, I'm going to go get the board no matter what. In order to stop me, you're going to have to really, really, put a body on me. And I think kind of proving too that, I'm small, but I could still compete with, 4s and 5s in a way, was something that I kind of always wanted to prove.
And you're small, relatively speaking. Yeah. For those of you listening, she is ripped. You are so strong. It's mind-blowing. So you have your senior season left, which is so exciting, and it gets to be in the Big 12, one of the best basketball conferences in the country. And you were named preseason All Big 12 honorable mention. And that's a big deal. So how does that affect your outlook heading into this season?
Honestly, it's motivating. I wanted to be, there's always better awards, better things to strive for. So if anything, it's just more motivating for me. Obviously I'm honored to, have been mentioned at all. That's a great accomplishment, but that's not enough for me. So.
Do you feel like you thrive being an underdog?
Yeah, I think I definitely do. It's been a common theme for me a lot of my life. So, I love it. I think it's a fun place to be in.
When you think about your senior year in the Big 12, what gets you most excited?
Oh, well, like you said, the Big 12, it's a great conference of basketball. I think it's going to be so fun to be able to play against these big teams and to play some good basketball. Also just, like you said, my senior year, it's my last year. Which, when I think about it, it's very, very sad, but I'm also just so happy to be able to be around such a great group of girls and coaching staff for the senior year. I couldn't have asked for, better girls to be around and better coaches to be around. So I'm just really excited to be able to take the season with them and be able to, have one last ride with everyone and to finish out with the culture that has been established here with Coach Amber taking the head coaching job, and just excited to be able to be a part of it.
You mentioned your teammates. You recently did a day in the life for the women's basketball team, and it seems like you guys have a ton of fun. What's your
Yeah.
relationship like with your teammates? Because you spend so much time with them.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm definitely closest with this team, I feel like, than I've been with any other teams. I think our trip to Europe back in August was huge for us. That kind of was the big turning factor that helped us all really bond and get close with each other. And the coaches do a good job at having us rotate with different girls for certain events, and sleeping situations we're kind of always with someone else, so it's not cliquey or the same type of people. But being able to have that whole experience was really good for us. I felt like we all got super close, and then being around each other every day. Some people get tired of it, but I think we kind of all love it in a way. It's fun to be able to have, constantly have friends around you, and, sisters around you, but also teammates that are going to push you, in the weight room, on the court, academically. That's one thing I think we all do, is hold a high standard for each other. So, it makes you want to work hard for the girl next to you.
And people that kind of understand what your life's like.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
what you're going through every day. How do you feel like, you've mentioned Coach Amber Whiting a bunch. How do you feel like you've developed as a player under her tutelage?
Yeah, Coach Amber's given me a lot of confidence. I feel like me and her have a great relationship where we can talk really about anything, non-basketball related, basketball related. So, I'll confide in her, when I feel a specific way about how I'm playing, how I can do better. And, she's always straight up and honest with me, and really good at knowing who I am as a person. So she can kind of, she knows how to communicate with me in a way that'll, get me motivated, get me pumped, be able to push me. And that's something I'm really grateful for, is that, she's taking that time to develop that relationship with me, because, I trust her input, and I feel like anything she has to say, I value and can understand it really easily.
One thing I love about Coach Whiting is she did not hide how excited she was that you were coming back. I feel like a lot of coaches could be like, oh, yeah. Trying to hide that. But she just was like, yes. She just expressed it to anybody who was listening. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. It makes me just super grateful. I remember telling Coach, it was actually right after graduation, our graduation ceremony, and she jumped up and hugged me. And I held her in my hug for, a while. It was a great moment that I obviously will never forget. But her excitement and, her joy, made me feel even more at ease with everything, and kind of, reassured me more that this was the right decision. And having a coach like that, that you respect, makes you want to play hard every single possession for her.
I love that. How do you mentally prepare for games and handle the pressure that comes right before games?
I think having other teammates, like, for example, this last season, having like Nani, for example, just having another team that that feels that same way, being able to confide in them and be able to, talk and kind of lean on each other is super helpful. It kind of makes you, it makes you feel like you're not alone, and that, what you're feeling, they're feeling too. So that's kind of always reassuring. And then just having a good support system, really just around you and making you feel like calm about everything. Before games, I like to just kind of decompress, whatever that means, laying down, taking a bath, anything to just kind of get my mind off of ball for a second and just breathe and try to, just relax is always good for me in my mind, to kind of clear all the thoughts. Because, you can get worked up and overthink everything. But just having a clear mind going into it is always super helpful for me.
We're going to bring our conversation full circle. You are a BYU record holder. You have a lot of accolades, not just at BYU, but in the WCC and nationally. Moving forward, how do you make goals, even for this season? Like, what are your goals moving forward in your last year as a BYU Cougar?
I think there's still records to be broken, for sure. That's a huge thing for me. Another big thing is really just putting everything I have into this last year. I don't want to look back at all with, different regrets of not going all out, not putting, all that effort into specific things. So a big broad one for me is really just 110% into everything, whether that be just our lift or, team activities and obviously basketball stuff, but just being really dived in all the way. And as far as, team stuff, I really think we're another underdog, of course, which I think is good. Like we like that. We like to be in that position. So just making a statement out there, putting BYU out there, that's a big one. I think our team has is going in and competing, especially our first year. But personal goals, still thinking of solidifying them each individually, but I know there's a lot of records I want to break, and I want to accomplish, and I want to leave BYU with me being the best version of myself and being the best athlete that I can be for BYU, because I want to leave everything out on the table.
So cool. We're talking to BYU women's basketball senior forward Lauren Gustin. Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time with me today, and I can't wait to see what you do this year.
Thank you so much.
You can download and listen to all episodes of Her Why on the BYU Radio app or wherever you find podcasts. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.